Hey, hey, hey. Good morning, good day, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're joining us from. Center for Spiritual Living, Palm Desert, and friends all over our beautiful planet. Welcome to Thursday on the good show, on the big show. It's Thursday. My name is Reverend Charles Hall. If we haven't met before, I'm the Associate Minister, Center for Spiritual Living, Palm Desert. It's a good day to be alive. I'm saying hello to you from the magnificent, beautiful, monsoon season, Coachella Valley. You know, before I moved here, folks said that it's a dry heat. Well, apparently for a few weeks here in August during monsoon season, it's a humid heat as well. And it definitely cranks the oven temperature up just a little bit here in the beautiful desert. But it's all good. I'm grateful, as always, to look out my windows, see the beautiful San Jacinto Mountains, the peak where the tram goes up to. I can't see the tram from where I live, but I can see the beautiful mountains and the peak there, the palm trees, the blue sky. It's a good day. My guest today is Charles Holt. Many of you may know him. He's been to the center before a number of times. He's a superstar, at least in my book, and I know in a number of our books. And he's a tremendous storyteller. He's a gifted author, artist, performing artist. He sings. He's an actor. He's an athlete. I mean, really, he's a Greek god, basically. I don't think there's anything that he doesn't do and do well. And I'm wondering where he is. Charles Holt, are you out there anywhere in the Zoomosphere? I know you're someplace. I know, and Jeff, my man Jeff Harrison at Swing Point Media is working diligently behind the scenes to make sure that we get Charles hooked in here and dialed in. So what's on your front burner today, gang, out there in Zoom land? I'm so grateful to be with you again. I know it wasn't last week, but the week before, I had some of the magnificent team that stood in for me as I was up in Seattle with my family, grieving a family loss. And always, even when I'm gone, there's something wonderful that dances on my heart, knowing that a couple things. One, I work with an extraordinary team that I'm so blessed to work with. And two, that I get to participate with such an extraordinary community of Center for Spiritual Living, Palm Desert, and our friends. I feel so blessed to be here and to participate with each one of you and really lean into the heart that is this community and just do the dance together. And again, so look forward to, and all of us, when we have our leadership meetings, our practitioner meetings, when the new ministers get together and our ministerial staff talks, we're all so enthusiastic about when we are going to be able to come together and do our dance that we do. And I keep having the vision of the sanctuary and what it's like building up for each one of the services. And when we're hanging out in the sanctuary and out in the breezeway on the patio, and the hugs and the cheer and the laughter and the sorrow and all the things that we share as a community. We're so blessed in every way, aren't we? So we're going to keep doing this thing. We're going to keep doing it well, our virtual offerings, making the adjustments and pivoting where we need to. It's been a learning curve for everybody, for all of us, right? You tuning in, maybe when you first started tuning in, you didn't even know how to use Zoom. I don't think I knew how to use Zoom. Did I? Before the vid hit? I'm not sure. I don't even remember now. It seems like we've been at it. And by the way, can you believe that it's the end of August and here we are still? It's fascinating. So we're doing our best. We're making it work. And I feel gratitude this morning, just a tremendous amount of gratitude. And I think my gratitude just manifested my dear brother, Charles Holt. Are you there? I think you're there. I know you're coming in 3, 2, 1. Charles,
I'm here.
Oh, I can't see you.
Hello.
Can you? Is your video on?
My video?
Yeah, your video. Is there an X through your video? Where where it says on the bottom left where it says?
No, my video's on.
Okay. Hey Jeff, can you make the adjustment on my end then? I think I'm on speaker mode or whatever it might be. I'd love to be able to see Charles. There you are.
And then there was light.
And then there was light. Hey, good afternoon, my brother. You're in Atlanta,
Thank
Georgia.
you.
Yeah.
I know. I
Man.
know. But I always say, Reverend Charles, I always say good morning. I don't
Good
care
morning.
what time it is.
Right? Good morning. You look good, brother. You look, man, it's good to see your face. I haven't seen your face in years now.
I know. Thank you. You look great as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah, this desert living, I think it's working well for me out here.
Man, you are living a life. Oh my God. I know it's hot. I know.
It's hot. I was just saying that before you came on, that people kept saying it's hot, but it's a dry heat. But nobody told me that there's a few weeks in the summer where it's monsoon season and the humidity kicks in a little bit and that takes it to another level. But we're blessed, very blessed. Yeah, very blessed. How are you today, man? What's on your front burner? Welcome. I'm so glad. I already have a sense that this is going to be part 1 of 2. So we're going to schedule part 2 by the time we're done with this one. All right.
Okay. All right. Sounds good to me.
Hey, everybody. Hey, everybody. Just aren't you already blessed by the man's smile? I mean, look at that smile. You can't look at that and not feel the presence and power and glory of the presence. We're gifted. How are you today, my friend? What's on your front burner? What's happening right now in your life? What's going on?
I'm well today. Yesterday was full. I had a full day yesterday and it was good. I like to be in motion. So when I am when I'm not in motion or in inertia, my natural mind begins to go a little stir crazy because I'm used to moving. And so yesterday was a lot of motion. I had taken on a job for a couple of days where it was grueling. It was grueling. It is so humid here. Yesterday was 99, 100% humidity.
Yeah,
and I was working in a warehouse and it was grueling. Then I got off and my alternator belt went out on my car.
Oh, hey, all right.
So I spent 6.5 hours getting that fixed. And then I got home. I had not slept in probably 23 hours.
Yo, okay.
And I had to just listen to it's during that time that I go back to some of the things that have been revealed to me in meditation. Like when you feel a certain way, it's like, oh, don't let it go. Here it is. Here it is. Remember what we learned during that time, the last time. It might not have been as severe as this time or not felt as severe or overwhelming as this time, but this is for that. So go into meditation, go sit down, breathe, and just say whatever mantra you have on your mind. Life is for me, not against me. I'm great. I'm grateful. Whatever that is, I go to that. And then I'm able to come back to some semblance of the truth of who I am. Otherwise, I will spin out.
Yes. That's the alternative of what could happen, right? All of a sudden, your day and maybe a couple days are just trashed.
Yes.
Because you've spun out. Oh, I'm a victim. Life's against me instead of life is for me.
Yes. Yeah. So that's where I am.
Thank God I get to put a new alternator belt in my car or whatever.
Because you know what? My car is it'll be 17 years old in January. It has over 215,000 miles on it. And I'm not really interested in buying a new car right now. As a matter of fact, Reverend Charles, the thing that I want next is a scooter. Is a Vespa, but I don't know, I have to take a look at that and ask if that's in my highest, because Atlanta's a car culture. And, I don't want to be on a busy street and not be protected by the walls of a car, as if I was, I'm just out there.
Yeah.
And so even though I want one, I just have to look and see if that's, that's good. Because the body temple, I'm not my body temple, but it sure does get me around so spirit can express.
That's right. That's right. And I've seen bikers that have all sorts of gear on too. I mean, I know there's things you can get to help protect the body, but the four walls of a car, yes, I understand.
Yes. Mhm.
Let's dive in a little bit here. Let's go back for a second.
Okay.
Let's do this chronologically for a minute. You said and maybe you have a story or a couple stories to tell here. In our pregame though, I asked you about some favorite childhood memories, and you said one is hanging out with your grandmother.
Yeah.
And then also your brother teaching you how to ride a bike. You got a story or two about your grandma?
Well, my grandmother, her name, well, she was affectionately called Granny, and this is my paternal grandmother. And I used to stay with her when I was 3, 4, 5, right up until I got ready to go to elementary school. And even when I came from elementary school, I would go to Granny's house until, my parents or my brother and sister got home from school. And so my grandmother was interesting, very interesting. She was a staunch Baptist,
Mm-hmm.
but my grandmother was also very aware and conscious. And so I would come home from playing or come from outside playing. And I say, Granny, Granny, guess what? I want to learn a new song today. And my grandmother would say, not today. You're going to get up on that bed and take a nap. And I would say, but Granny, I'm not sleepy. She said, you will be, because I'm going to shut everything off. She would shut the fan. She had this huge oscillating fan that got up to a speed so high that the actual fan would just shake. I thought it was going to tip over at any time. She would turn that down. She would turn the television off. She would tell me, do not answer that telephone if it rings. And she said, and if anybody comes to the door, don't answer it. She said, we're going to be quiet.
Mm.
And I would watch my grandmother until I fell asleep. And she would sit there in this big, I guess it was a lazy boy. And she would just rock back and forth, just rock back and forth. And I would go to sleep. But I think it was my grandmother's way of meditation.
Mm.
I think it was her way of allowing what needed to speak to her. She never closed her eyes, but she shut everything down where she could listen.
Mm.
And now that comes to me and allows me to know the different ways in which I can go into mindfulness and meditation and the power of it. And my grandmother and my father, particularly my father, had a gift that he left with me. It took a long time for me to get it. My father used to always say, son, you hear everything, but you don't listen to nothing. And I used to say, Daddy, I do listen. He said, no, you don't. You'll get it one day, but you don't right now. You hear everything, but you don't listen to nothing. And now I understand that it takes some silencing and some quietness to be able to really listen. For me, to go to that place where I am in expectation of hearing a broadcast from somewhere much greater from the situation, circumstance, or condition that I presently am in. And I go to that place and I get that download and then I understand, wow, that's a world too. And that's the one I want to live in.
Mm. Mm. Amen.
Yeah.
That is particularly potent right now because even while many folks are still sheltered in, there's a lot of noise out there.
Yes.
Political noise, racial noise, COVID noise, fear, anxiety, things like that. In the midst of that, we have an opportunity that you just described, I believe. Turn everything off.
Shut it down.
And what did you say? Listen to a world, like an ever widening world. Huh?
Yeah, because there's a broadcast from that one too. Just like there's a broadcast from the many platforms of social media. I mean, and I kind of listened to the weather this morning because I wanted to track, how Laura, the hurricane had come on to shore, and I just wanted to be aware of that, and it was just blaring and blaring and blaring, and this is the worst. It seems like always worst case scenario
Yeah.
with everything. And sometimes I just need to go to a place where peace is the order of the day. It's like peace, peace everywhere, peace. Yeah, in the midst of things, but yes, peace. And peace is inside. This is in here. And that's the world that I want to live in, but be fully aware that there is something on the exterior, but to live in that place that's always constant with who and what I am and who and what I am that came to the planet in the beginning. Yeah, in the beginning.
In the beginning.
Mhm.
That's actually what's that? Is that the, I think the song's called Genesis from Ricky.
It is.
Ricky,
In
yeah.
the beginning, God, in the beginning, I am here for my God to reveal what was said in the beginning. Powerful.
Powerful.
Yes. Mhm.
What was said in the beginning?
Well, for me in the beginning, I came here as a brilliant light of freedom, of joy. And when people talk about what are the steps to success, I always start with freedom. For me, freedom gives me a platform to be happy. And what I learned early on was that when I'm happy, I can create anything. Anything is likely, feasible, it's there for me. And then from there, I jump into visualization. And then from there to visioning. It's powerful because when I got older, I remember the first time I even said to myself, I want to be on Broadway. I never grew up wanting to be on Broadway. It took my teachers 3 hours to convince me to stay awake for the Nutcracker in the third grade. That was the only thing that I can remember going where there was this theatrical and, type of environment that I would soon become a part of. But I was a football player when I grew up, and I was also very ignorant. I remember the first time that someone posed to me that I could do musical theater, I said, I'm a football player. We don't do musical theater. It was just the blinders of growing up and thinking that I can only be a certain way, that I can do only a certain thing, that, I'm this limited being. And so when I said I wanted to be on Broadway, I had no expectations. All I knew is I could sing, and somewhere deep inside of me, I knew that it made me so happy that it was contagious, and that if it changed and altered my mood and my being, it could do that for everybody. I knew that. And so before I went to New York, I bought a ticket, which made me so happy that I was getting ready to go to New York City to fulfill a dream. And I got there and I lived on happiness. I lived on happiness. That's what I lived on. And when the first job that I got in New York was as an usher in two theaters. The first theater was the Virginia Theater, which is now the August Wilson Theater. And then what was playing in that was a show that I would eventually become a cast member of called Smokey Joe's Cafe. And then on the way to the Forum, where I saw Nathan Lane, I ushered those shows. And as I was watching the musicals play out, I would see myself on the stage. It made me so happy. Happiness and then imagination. And then I started visualizing myself in one of those roles. I can sing that. And I would leave the theater with a song every night, and I would walk home and I would sing that song, sing it all day the next day until I went to work, where it almost became like I'm the one on the stage singing it. And then just to vision I asked myself, well, what do you love so much about? What do you love so much about it? I said, because it makes people happy. It gives them something that whatever they came into the theater with that day, whether it was something heavy, they leave the theater light, and I would actually watch that. It would permeate the theater, and I would feel it. It was a vibration. And so my vision became, I want to be bigger than whatever it is that I see myself on stage being. I want to give it out to the people in the audience. So that's success to me, is to take an idea, a grand idea, and move through the entire process, which begins with freedom to me, because I'm free to do that. And
Amen.
then imagination, happiness and imagination take over.
Love
And
it.
then they create the scene. Yeah.
I just wrote a little equation out here. Freedom. Freedom's my word too. It's been my word since I was in my early teens. Freedom equals happiness equals creativity equals creating something, actually
Yeah.
demonstrating, manifesting something.
Right.
Love it.
Yeah.
I'm just going to use that for me.
Okay.
Yeah. So let's roll back just a little bit, because I want to talk about how some of the formative things then informed your very successful Broadway career, theater career, singing, and now some of the things you're doing today, which we'll see if we get to them today or next time we chat.
Yeah.
You mentioned the story about your father, and you mentioned your father just a few minutes ago, and you mentioned even the idea that, okay, I'm an athlete, a football player, I can't, you kind of trapped in this idea. But you were trapped by lack of forgiveness when it came to your father. Is that right? How much did that hold you back from really beginning to release your potential? How was that as a part of your process?
It was interesting, Reverend Charles, because I think from the age of, I want to say the age of 8, at the age of 5, I had this idea that anything was possible. And the person who I wanted to share all of that with, because I loved my mother. My mother is my best friend. But growing up, my mother always championed whatever I did. It was my father who I wanted to bring on board and say, Daddy, I want you to be a part of this too. Be a part of what I'm doing, And my father was just, I guess, just set in his ways and trying to still survive. Well, I was free. I was going to survive. That's something that I knew. And it was my parents who gave me a lot of that inspiration. So I give great thanks for my parents. My father didn't see things that way, although he was very integral in my development. And so at the age of, I guess, 8, all the way through years and years, I did things to appease what I thought his wishes were. So it was always trying to get his affirmation, his validation, his approval. Even when I left the South and moved to New York, that had become congealed and concretized in my mind. I'm going to get Broadway, and this is going to be the thing that my father calls and says, I'm proud of you, son, for. Didn't happen. So Lion King was the story that kind of brought me to this space where I could bump into, because I wasn't looking for it. I knew the story of Simba and Mufasa and how close they were, but then Mufasa was gone. And that was not the way that it played out between me and my father. But the story itself was what hit me. It was a story about a father and a son. And I had been chasing that for years because I wanted that. And one day I decided, I said, well, something's not working. And maybe it's time for me to stop blaming him for things that don't work and then look at myself. And so I'm gonna go get my plug to plug it up,
Yeah.
but I'm still with you.
Oh,
And
yeah.
so I said to myself, all right, I'm gonna not blame him because I blamed my father for everything that went wrong in my life,
Mm.
everything that could not work, everything that did not work. And I finally said, it's not him. And then, of course, if it's not him, who is it? It's me.
Mm.
It's me. And of course, I didn't want to take that on. It's not me. He did this. He said this. He didn't do this. He didn't say that.
Mm.
I needed this. He didn't. So it became this go around in my mind and in my heart. And it finally clicked because I finally realized you have to take responsibility for something. You have to take full responsibility for your life, Charles, no matter what has happened. And maybe
Mm.
that's the existentialist that's in me. I do believe that.
Mm.
I think that we are all dealt to some extent a hand that is not so comfortable, but at the end of the day, you can't blame anybody else. So you just come back to you.
Mm.
And I got the national tour of Jesus Christ Superstar. After a month, the first month, I moved there July 6th. In August, I got the show and was on the road
Wow.
with Ted
Wow.
Neely and Carl Anderson,
Mm-hmm.
Jesus and Judas. And we were traveling from Wyoming back to California, a long trek. And I had taken a nap and gotten up and started talking to the bus driver. And this thing I see in my periphery is coming toward the bus. First, there's something that whizzes by the bus, and we come to understand that as a tumbleweed. And I was
Oh.
fascinated by it because I had never seen one except for in the movies. So
Yeah,
I
yeah, yeah.
asked him, I said, can you speed up a little bit? Bus driver, speed up a little bit. So he speeds up and we see that it's a tumbleweed. Well, we're having a good time about the tumbleweed, and I see something coming towards the bus. And I turn and I look at it, and it's the face of my father. And I said, what are you doing here? I thought I left you. You're supposed to be gone. You're not supposed to be here with me. You're supposed to be back in Nashville. It wouldn't leave me alone for 6 months. It stayed
Wow.
with me. January 1997, I'm sitting on the edge of my bed in my Harlem apartment, and something says, call him. Call him now. I pick up the phone, I call, and my mother answers the phone, and I say, Mommy, is Daddy there? My father answers the phone. He answers the phone in that same monotone voice that he always had. Hello. And in that moment, all of the courage that I had gotten up to call him, it left. And I went through this laundry list of things that he hadn't done, things that he said that I thought were awful, never affirming, and something said, tell him. Say it. And I said, Daddy, I forgive you. Nothing. He didn't say a word. Well, that did not sit well with me. And I went down the second laundry list, and I heard the voice say, tell him. And I said, Daddy, I love you. I love you. I always have, and I always will. And I burst into tears. My father did not respond at all. I said, I have to go. Got off the phone. I cried myself to sleep.
Wow.
And I woke up. This is the funny part. I woke up and there was this band playing in my head. I thought they were outside. I went and looked out the window. I said, it's 3 o'clock in the morning. Nope. It's
Where
no
am I, New
band.
Orleans all of a sudden?
Right. Do, 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 do. Okay, so I asked the question. I said, what is this? All of a sudden I hear this voice say, congratulations. I said, congratulations for what? He said, you did it. You did it. I said, oh. I said, he didn't even say anything. He didn't respond. He said, it wasn't for him. It was for you. It was for you. You let him go, but you freed yourself. Forgiveness is self-forgiveness. That's what that is. It always comes back to that place where another marker is set a little higher because we have chosen to play or chosen to experience the fun of this life. And part of the fun of this life is watching ourselves grow. It's to witness the uptick in our own change and transformation.
Mm.
And so what I tell myself all the time is, you know, it's like an onion, that forgiveness thing. I think about my father all the time. I talk to my ancestors every day. And there's some things that I ask my dad now. I'm like, I'm still angry about that. So, okay, let's peel back another layer of the onion, because now my father tells me he's proud of me.
Mm.
Not in form,
Mm-hmm.
but he tells me that he's proud of me and that he loves me and that I'm doing a great job. Now, it's still part of me that's still kind of concretized in that old thought. Well, where was that when I was 5 years old and 8 years old? Where is that? Where was that then? It said, it's here now. Are you ready to receive that now? Because you can't live in the past. You can if you want to, but all it does is just drag you back through all of that stuff.
Yep.
And then you
Yep.
can heal that. Heal it in the present, Charles. And I said, well, Daddy, I love you too. You know, I love you. I love you. I love you. I love you. And then it becomes something very different for me
Mm.
in my experience. And then again, I get to become contagious.
There it is, which is one of your words here.
Yes.
Contagious life.
Yes.
And that forgiveness gave you freedom.
It does. It did. Yes, it did. Yes, it
So
did.
why don't people forgive?
Um,
Is there's a juice we get from it? Maybe it's a blind spot. Maybe we don't want to know we need to forgive. Maybe we're just used to being angry. Huh? Tell us, were you aware that you needed to forgive before the moment on the bus? Or at what point did that happen? Did you get juice out of not forgiving your dad and then finally see, oh, I need to forgive him?
well, the thing was, Reverend Charles, I didn't grow up with certain things get in, you know, in the community that I grew up in, formative years, a lot of people didn't talk about forgiveness.
Mm.
So, you know, when I was introduced to it, I thought maybe that's what I should do. Some people don't know to forgive.
Yeah. Yes.
They think it is a total, I'm just laying down and letting that person trample all over me. It's kind of like the same thing when we talk about, you know, surrender to spirit, surrender. That word surrender, it terrifies people. Surrender, no, that means surrender doesn't mean to give up. It means to give in. And when I say in, I'm talking about inside of you. Give in to that which is speaking to the highest of who you are. It's not letting someone trample all over you. And that was the thing. I said, forgive him for what he did? Absolutely not. He said, okay, that thing is still on your back. It's going to be on your back, and you're not going to be able to run real fast. You're going to think you are. You're going to think you're getting there really quickly, and that thing is still on your back. And most of all, Charles, people are going to see it. People are going to see it because it's going to be on you. When you sing, when you talk, when you dance, when you act, because you are in a place, you're in a platform where you cannot hide from people. They're going to see you. Take that on for permeating of your gift and then becoming contagious. So that's what I had to think about. And then, you know, to say that I forgave my father in some parts of some cultures is like, you let him off the hook, you are weak. So there's a weakness associated with that. And I said, no, I'm not falling for that again. There's nothing weak about it. It's a real strength to be able to look at a situation and then forgive that person. Some things are harder to let go of and forgive than others. You know, my father meant the world to me, but what is better, holding him hostage in my mind? Because that's what I did. I held him hostage, threw away the key, but it wasn't him in prison. It was me. It was me. It was me. And then some people don't forgive because they've listened too much. When people get in situations, they call friends who call friends who call friends who call friends, and then all of that broadcast comes back to them. No, don't forgive them. Forgive them. You can even hate them. You might go to the grave with it, but you can. I can't do that one. I couldn't do that one. I was too free. Yeah, that's part of freedom. That certain people don't realize it. When you release and let people go, and you are aware of a situation, but you don't let it run your life, you free yourself. It's okay. I have no more time to put my energies into that. I need to live the life that I came down here to live, and to give, to share, and to be a blessing. Yeah.
You mentioned the contagious life. You mentioned that's one of the things that you are committed to sharing.
Yeah.
Tell us about the contagious life. How does that show up? How does that demonstrate itself for you?
The first thing that comes to me in talking about contagious life, and any type of life that you want to make good for yourself, but you also want other people to experience, the greatness that is you, the greatness that comes with you. The one word that I will always tell people is that you have to be willing to do it. Because everything will come to your mind and say, it's just like getting up in the morning and going to work. Certain people, first of all, they don't necessarily like their jobs, so they don't want to get up and go to work. And then when they get to work, they're sour. There has to be a willingness to say, okay, what is this occupation to me and for me? And how does it serve me? And then gratitude is next. A willingness to be grateful for whatever it is, for whatever it looks like. I'm not living in New York City right now, which is my favorite place on earth, but I'm here in Atlanta, and I'm grateful. I'm grateful for that because it's right where I am, and something much greater orchestrated this for me. Again, go back to the universe is for me and not against me. Life is for me and not against me. And then the other thing is the contagious. It's like a storm. So it allows things that no longer serve its center. It kind of allows them to spiral out. But at the same time, it hooks whatever is supposed to be a part of that in. And you have people in your circle who you can call and say, I was thinking about this. This is on my mind. And they'll champion you. It will not become a conversation of gossip.
Yes.
It won't spiral into he said, she said, that type of conversation. But it'll say, I'll hold you there. What about this, Charles? What about that? I love you. Yes, I do. Yeah, I tell all my friends that. The guys that I play football with, when I get off the phone with them, I love you, man. Yeah, you too.
Yeah, right.
Until they get to it.
Macho man.
Yes, I know. Until they get to it, Reverend Charles. All right, man, I'll talk to you. Let's talk this coming up September. What is it? Labor Day, September. Okay, all right, man. Love you, man. Love you too, Charles. Love you. All right, bye. And I know they mean it. I know it. But certain things we don't say. We don't declare. Because that word love is powerful.
Yes, it is.
It is powerful, man. And most people, when they feel it, they don't want to say it because they've been hurt. They don't want to put themselves out there again. But I say it and I mean it. And if you do hurt me, I'm still going to I'm still going to be I'm still going to be contagious because I'm going to be willing to put it out there. I am.
Be free. To be free.
Yes.
Yeah.
Freedom. Yeah. It goes back to freedom.
Well, that's what I hear through so much of what you're saying right now, Charles, is that you don't allow the noise of the world to inform you anymore. You live from within, which is another Ricky song I love. From within, you know, I let my life begin to see eternity. You know that one, huh?
Yes. Yeah.
And
I do.
Go ahead.
I do, Reverend Charles. That's a choice. I lived in the most chaotic city in the world, New York. From the time you wake up to the time you go to bed, there are honking horns, there's sirens, there are people, there's bustle, there are lights everywhere. And I said, wow, this is great. And then it was in New York that I found out that I create best in chaos. I do, because I can go in, and I had to find that place inside of me. So New York was like a microcosm of the world society, full of noise. But when I can find that place where I can sit down and go, I'm on the subway, the seat. And even though the subway is moving really fast, I can breathe. I'll get back up and get out into it in just a few minutes. But for now, I have found that place where I can breathe. And in this space, I give myself to be fully free of who I am and to be willing, to be happy. When I get off the plane, when I get off the subway, I'm going to go and be happier. It's that type of thing where I get to choose. You don't tell me how I need to be. I've gone through that. I'm my own authority on that one.
There it is. That's what I love when I share with students how important it is to go into the laboratory of your own life and actually discover your truth, like you're saying right now. I am the authority on that because I've been through that one.
Yes.
Not just because some minister or teacher is preaching it or teaching it, but I've put the lab coat on, I put the pocket protector in, whatever that, put the goggles on. I've gone into the laboratory of my own soul and discovered this is my truth.
Yes. And that's what you have to do. And that's the blessing of the chaos. The blessing of the chaos is that we become so uncomfortable that we ask the question, oh my God, how can I get out of this? Oh, I thought you'd never ask. The higher self speaks. And then you go, oh, who are you? I'm you. I'm waiting to give you a broadcast. And it's right from your soul. You ready to listen? No. There are times when I said no, Reverend Charles, for about 5 minutes. I said, okay, because I'm ready to listen. Something softened in me. Perhaps it was that time that I forgave my father, that something else kind of melted in me. So I was a hard, wanted to be that macho football player. We don't give in to anything. We run through walls. I'm not him anymore. I did that. And that's a hard one. That was one of the hard ones for me to get over. I'm not that football player anymore.
Do you reflect back on that, those times? Because you played football at a pretty high level, right?
I did. I played college. I played high school, then I went to college on a football scholarship. And then I worked out for about 8 or 9 professional scouts as a cornerback and a return specialist. And I look back on that and I just have nothing but great things to say about the world of sports. Football taught me discipline. It taught me teamwork. It taught me perseverance. It taught me work ethic. Not that I did not get that at home because my parents were very particular, but it was an extension of that. It fine-tuned it so that when I started acting, I said, oh, these are the same types of things that I did in football. Get up early, go to practice, stay at practice for hours. You monitor your sleep, you monitor your diet, you monitor who you hang out with and how long you hang out with them, because you have to learn a song. You have to learn choreography. That's if you're committed. If you're not committed, then so be it. But New York will let you know, if you're not committed, I will eat you alive. I will eat you for lunch. You better have a vision coming up in here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The grind. So how did you get introduced? I mean, I hear through all of it, the values that you've learned. How did you get introduced? I think we're going to get to showbiz in a couple of weeks, just because of where we're at right now, which is just the exciting stories that you have to talk about that too. But how did you find your way into the teachings? You said you came from a Baptist household.
Yes.
How did you find your way into New Thought?
So Baptist was a great foundation for me. People were who they were. No bells and whistles. And, there are a lot of things that people say about, Baptists, especially where I grew up. They say, oh, you guys go to church on Sunday, walk out the church house and smoke a cigarette and cuss in the same breath. And y'all just been in church. I said, well, I couldn't deny it but I will tell you this, Reverend Charles, when it came to loving you, woo, they were right there. Whatever they said they were going to do, they did it. And I'm not saying that other religions that I've encountered did not. I'm saying that there was something about being in that environment, growing up like that. But you need a ride to the store? What time? 9:30, be there at 9:15. Take your time. It was that I was introduced to. So it became about whatever I have to do, I'll do it before 9 o'clock. I have to go and be right there at 9:15 so I can, yes. Then I went into Apostolic Pentecostal when I was 17, 18 years old until, I was way out of college and working and moved to New York. And I got to New York and I went to a Sunday service. We had a show at 1 o'clock. Used to call it the breakfast show at Lion King. It was so early for us, 1 o'clock on a Sunday. Woo! So I was leaving after about maybe an hour. I think church started at 11. I needed to be at the theater by 12:30 for half hour call. And I walked out of the church on my way to the subway, and I got halfway down the block, and I stopped, and I looked up, and I said, God, I can't do this anymore. I can't do it like this anymore. I don't know. Can't do it like this anymore. And I stopped going to church. I stopped. Lion King became my sanctuary. And when I left Lion King, I moved to LA. That was September 2004. The guy who would become my roommate had left Lion King 6 months before me and had gotten to LA 6 months before me and had this beautiful apartment, 2-bedroom. And I called him. He said, hey, man, you want to be roommates? I said, yeah. So I'm going to LA. I've settled into my new apartment. The first Sunday that I'm there, I hear a knock on my door. Hey, Charles, it's Brian, man. I'm getting ready to go to church. Just wanted to invite you to church service. I said, Brian, thanks, man, but I don't do church. I don't do church anymore.
No church anymore, baby.
He said, oh, okay. He said, well, I get you, bro. He said, actually, this place is really not like church. I said, I've heard that before, Brian.
Right.
What's the name of it? He said, agape. I said, agape. Oh, agape. When I was in Jesus Christ Superstar, Carl Anderson used to tell me all the time, me and Veronica, who was his wife during that time, we want to invite you to LA. We're going to take you to church with us. We want you to stay with us. I mean, he just really took me in. And I said, Carl, what's the name of your church? He said, Agape. So I said, oh, yeah, I've heard the name before, Brian. I said, okay, look, I'll be there. I'll be late, but I'll come. I'll be late. I'll come. So I walk in, and they are about to start the meditation part of the service. So I see this man up on stage, and he's in this mudra. And I'm trying to look for a seat. The usher is trying to look for a seat with me. We see one, and he says, this man up on stage, wherever you sit or stand, I'm here to tell you that you are in your right, perfect place. Ricky, help them feel it. By this time, I have meandered to my seat, and I'm about to sit down, and Ricky hits a chord on the piano. It ran through me like electricity. I couldn't sit down. So I asked the usher, who is that? Who's that on the piano? And so this woman in front of me, she was all set. And she turned around and she went, shh. I said, I still need to know who that woman is.
Yes.
After church, I went up to Ricky Byers and I said, thank you. I said, it was something that you played today that it really resonated with me. I didn't want to tell her, it just rocked me. I mean, I couldn't sit down.
Mm.
And she looked at me like Ricky does. And she went, you're a singer, aren't you? And I said, yes, I am. I just moved here from New York City. And she shook her head again and went on to the next person. The teachings that I got at Agape from Reverend Michael Beckwith changed the course of my consciousness.
Mm.
When he spoke, Reverend Michael can get into a rhythm that is sometimes speedy for some people. When he would speak, it was like I was like a container. That broadcast would run through me, and whatever it was equipped to download that and process it inside of me, it was right there. I mean, it was so powerful to the point where I thought, wow, I never thought I would know God like this. Never.
Mm.
Never did I think. Who would have ever thought that I would know this divine presence like this? But I'm falling in love again.
Mm.
I fell in love with God. I fell in love with spirit. I just could not keep away from it. I couldn't stay away from it. I was at Agape all the time. And even sometimes I would just drive up during the week so I could be in that overflow of that vibration that I felt on Sunday. It was so powerful.
Yes. Yes.
But I'm, you know, Reverend, there are no mistakes though, Reverend Charles, because Carl Anderson, I believe he set that thing up. I really do. Everywhere I sang after I started going to Agape, the first person they would say that I either reminded them of, or the first person that would come to their mind while I was singing would be, Carl Anderson.
Mm.
What a joy. I mean, to be mentioned with Carl Anderson. Carl Anderson took me under his wings. I love Carl. I talk to Carl all the time now. Well, not all the time. I talk to Carl. Carl comes to me and gives me these. I mean, he comes and gives it to me.
Mm.
These words.
Ancestor, because
Yes.
Carl passed in 2004.
February 2004. Yeah.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And so he comes and speaks these things to me. He doesn't tarry. He comes, gets it, says it like it is, and goes on about his business.
Mm.
And then I say to him, I said, okay, I hear you. And I go in, again, process. Yeah, because I know what he's saying to me, yes, is coming from a place that my natural mind cannot deal with. So I have to go in. Mm-hmm.
Amen. I also want to acknowledge, and for everybody listening, that your soul had to be ready for that moment at Agape too. As reluctant as you were
Yes.
ready to fall back in love with God, or else it wouldn't have happened.
I was, man. I was ready. That's right.
So that marriage between what Reverend Michael said and your being prepared to hear that in that way, and for Ricky to sing it in that way, is a reminder for all of us that are tuning in today too, that as you heard that day, you are in the right and perfect place right now.
Yes.
Right now.
Yes.
And your soul is ready for something.
Yes.
Can you believe we're already at the top of the hour?
Can I believe it? I looked at my clock here and it's 1:57. I think we're just getting started. Oh,
we are just getting started. So here's my formal invitation to you to come back 2 weeks from today.
Okay.
That's September 10th at the same time.
Yes, I accept that.
Okay, cool. Part two. We haven't even gotten into Charles Holt. Well, we've teased it a little bit, but wait till you hear some stories about Smokey Joe's Cafe and the Lion King and how the roles came about, even, and your travels and all that kind of stuff, and how principle weaves into all of it. Just this Charles Holt, ladies and gentlemen, fascinating conversation. And if you know someone that will benefit from part two of our conversation, please mark September 10th at 10 a.m. on your calendar to be back with us as we continue to dive deep into this man's soul. Thanks for sharing so authentically with us.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Yeah. Thank you for having me. Yay.
Yeah, you're being. Yep. I'm just gonna do a couple of announcements real quick, and then I'll say goodbye to you formally. Okay.
Okay.
Cool. So just hang tight. So that's Charles Holt, my brother. I'm so grateful to reconnect with him and share this beautiful time. There's let's see, tomorrow we've got Life on Love with me. We'll have some cool stuff that we explore tomorrow at 10 a.m. Then our regular meditation Saturday at 10 a.m. And then, of course, we'll roll out our virtual Sunday service on Sunday. And then we're getting the message out to you, another beautiful slate of characters and programming for next week, starting with another good friend of mine from Seattle. Her name's Carmen Delzell. She's a wonderful woman. We're going to talk about her life and her story and how principle has informed her as well. As always, I invite you to contribute powerfully to our ministry, to our community, to continue to support and empower us in having shows like this magnificent hour with Charles Holt. There's a give here, donate now, whatever it says button. It'll be abundantly clear to you. That's right below your feed, whatever platform you're watching, to be able to financially support the center. We absolutely espouse the principle of circulation, and that is giving and receiving and giving and dancing in that wonderful dance of circulation, so that as we're giving powerfully, we're receiving powerfully, and that we're receiving powerfully and giving powerfully. So thank you so much for your financial good, as I know you've been blessed by something today. Brother Charles Holt, you're the man. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
I appreciate you
too.
Yeah, very much. I will talk to you between now and then, but definitely see you for another date 2 weeks from today.
Okay.
September 10th.
Okay.
All right, have a beautiful day, my friend.
Much peace. You too. Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye-bye.